If you're over 50, don't ignore this habit with coffee. It may seem harmless, it's part of daily life for millions of people, and for many years it probably never caused any noticeable problem. Still, as time goes by, this habit can begin to place a quiet strain on the body, especially as the day comes to an end. The purpose of this video isn't to demonize coffee or create fear around something so common, but to explain what actually happens in the body after 50 and why small adjustments can make a much bigger difference than most people expect. Coffee is deeply woven into adult life. For some, it marks the beginning of the day. For others, it's a mid-morning pause, a work companion, or even a social habit tied to conversation and routine. For decades, the body handled it well. The energy came, the day moved forward, sleep arrived at night, and everything seemed to function as expected. The ritual of brewing coffee, the familiar aroma filling the kitchen, the warmth of the cup in your hands, these sensory experiences become intertwined with comfort, productivity, and even identity. Many people can't imagine starting their day without it, and for years, they didn't need to. The issue is that, over time, the body changes even when the routine stays the same, and those changes aren't always obvious at first. They happen gradually, almost imperceptibly, like the slow shifting of seasons. One day you realize that what once energized you now leaves you feeling wired but tired. What once helped you focus now makes your mind race when you're trying to unwind. These shifts don't announce themselves dramatically. They creep in quietly, disguised as normal signs of aging. After 50, metabolism tends to slow down. The nervous system takes longer to wind down. Nighttime recovery becomes less efficient, and sleep grows more sensitive to stimulation. This doesn't mean something is wrong or that aging itself is a problem. It simply means the body starts to require more respect for its natural rhythm. And this is exactly where coffee begins to have a different impact than it once did. The liver, which processes caffeine, becomes less efficient with age. The kidneys, which help eliminate it from the body, may work more slowly. Even the brain receptors that caffeine affects can become more sensitive over time. Caffeine is a stimulant. It acts directly on the central nervous system, reducing the sensation of fatigue and increasing alertness. In younger adults, the body usually processes caffeine relatively quickly. After 50, that process often becomes slower. This means caffeine stays active in the body for longer periods, even when you no longer feel that obvious boost of energy. The body may still be responding, even if you're not consciously aware of it. What once cleared your system in 4 to 6 hours might now linger for 8 hours or more, continuing to influence your physiology long after the cup has been finished. Many people believe that if they can fall asleep after drinking coffee in the afternoon or evening, then there's no real issue. But falling asleep isn't the same as truly resting. Caffeine may not completely prevent sleep, but it can interfere with its depth. The result is often fragmented, less restorative sleep, with more awakenings during the night and a lingering sense of fatigue in the morning even after spending enough hours in bed. You might drift off easily, but your brain never fully transitions into the deeper stages of sleep where true restoration occurs. Your body goes through the motions of sleep without receiving its full benefits. Over time, this effect builds up. You wake up tired, rely on more coffee in the morning to compensate, continue drinking it throughout the day, and once again experience light or restless sleep at night. Gradually, signs appear that many people attribute simply to aging: lower energy, increased irritability, difficulty concentrating, a racing mind when lying down, or the constant feeling that rest is never quite enough. Coffee isn't always the only factor, but in many cases it plays a larger role than people realize. This creates what some researchers call a caffeine fatigue cycle, where the very substance meant to provide energy becomes a barrier to the natural energy that comes from quality sleep. It's important to be clear about one thing: coffee itself isn't the enemy. It has well-known benefits and can improve focus, alertness, and even cognitive performance when used appropriately. Studies have shown that moderate coffee consumption can support brain health, provide antioxidants, and may even be associated with reduced risk of certain conditions. The problem is rarely coffee alone. It's usually the amount and, more importantly, the timing. After 50, what once felt neutral often requires more awareness. Many people continue drinking coffee late in the afternoon or even early evening simply because they always have. It becomes a long-standing habit that's rarely questioned. The body, however, begins to respond differently. The signals are often subtle and gradual, which makes them easy to ignore. Slightly lighter sleep, persistent fatigue, mild anxiety without a clear cause — these things become normalized. We adapt to feeling less than our best, convincing ourselves that this is simply what aging feels like. But in many cases, it's not aging itself, it's the accumulation of small habits that no longer serve us as they once did. When people finally notice these signs, they rarely connect them to coffee. Stress, age, and daily worries are the usual explanations. And while those factors do matter, ignoring the role of caffeine after 50 means missing a simple opportunity to improve sleep quality and daily energy. The beauty of this particular adjustment is its simplicity. Unlike many health interventions that require significant lifestyle changes, medication, or expense, adjusting coffee timing and quantity is immediately accessible to anyone. Throughout this video, the goal isn't to convince you to give up coffee or impose strict rules. The idea is to help you observe how your body responds now, not how it responded years ago. Small, conscious changes are often far more effective than radical decisions that don't last. Adjusting timing, reducing quantity, or simply paying attention to how you feel can already make a meaningful difference. This is about refinement, not rejection. It's about honoring what coffee can offer while protecting what your body needs most: quality rest and sustained energy. If this perspective resonates with you, it's worth staying until the end of the video. In the next part, we'll talk about realistic, manageable adjustments without extremes that many people over 50 are able to apply comfortably. And if this kind of content speaks to your reality, consider subscribing to the channel. Here, the focus is on discussing health after 50 in a clear, balanced way, without empty promises or alarmism. As the years go by, the body becomes less tolerant of excesses that once seemed insignificant. This doesn't happen overnight, and it rarely shows up in dramatic ways. It's a slow, almost invisible process, which is why many people only notice it when the signs are already well established. When it comes to coffee, these signs tend to appear first at night, even when a person believes they are sleeping just fine. The brain may not register the problem consciously, but the body keeps score. One of the most common effects of caffeine consumption after 50 is a change in sleep quality. Not necessarily difficulty falling asleep, but a reduction in how deep and restorative that sleep is. You go to bed, you sleep, but the rest feels shallow. Small noises wake you up. The body never seems to fully shut down. There are frequent awakenings during the night, followed by difficulty falling back asleep. In the morning, there's a lingering sense of fatigue, even after spending a reasonable amount of time in bed. You might look at the clock and see that you were in bed for 7 or 8 hours, yet you wake feeling as though you barely rested at all. This kind of fragmented sleep affects more than just energy levels. It interferes with muscle recovery, hormonal balance, and even how the body manages inflammation and stress. Over time, this can show up as persistent aches, stiffness upon waking, mood changes, and a constant feeling of tiredness that doesn't improve with rest. In response, many people instinctively increase their coffee intake during the day to compensate, reinforcing a cycle that quietly repeats itself. The irony is painful. We drink more coffee to combat the fatigue caused, in part, by the coffee itself. Another common sign is a subtle, ongoing sense of anxiety. Not intense episodes or obvious nervousness, but a low-level restlessness or difficulty relaxing, especially in the evening. The mind stays active when the body should be slowing down. For someone who has consumed coffee for decades without noticeable issues, it can be hard to imagine that caffeine might be contributing to this feeling. Yet after 50, this connection becomes much more likely. The same nervous system that once handled multiple cups throughout the day now responds with heightened sensitivity to even moderate amounts. Changes in heart rhythm at night are also frequently reported. Some people notice their heart feels more active when they lie down, or they wake up with the sensation that their body is still on alert. These sensations aren't always strong enough to cause immediate concern, but they're another indication that the nervous system isn't fully entering a restful state. The cardiovascular system, influenced by lingering caffeine, maintains a level of activation that prevents the deep relaxation necessary for restorative sleep. What's important to understand is that these effects rarely occur in isolation. They build gradually. A little less deep sleep one night, a bit more fatigue the next day, an extra cup of coffee to compensate, and the pattern continues. Over months and years, this can significantly affect quality of life, even when no specific medical condition is present. The cumulative effect is like compound interest and reverse small deficits that multiply over time into a substantial health debt. That's why adjusting coffee consumption after 50 should be viewed as a form of care, not deprivation. It's not about eliminating something enjoyable, but about adapting a habit to the body's current needs. For many people, simply changing the timing of coffee intake brings noticeable improvements. Limiting coffee to the earlier part of the day, for example, can significantly improve sleep quality without greatly affecting daytime energy. This allows the body adequate time to process and eliminate caffeine before evening, giving your nervous system the chance to naturally wind down as the day progresses. Another effective approach is gradually reducing the total amount consumed. Instead of multiple cups spread throughout the day, choosing 1 or 2 in the morning and observing how the body responds. This observation is key. There's no universal rule that applies to everyone. Individual responses become more pronounced after 50, making personal awareness more valuable than general guidelines. Some people metabolize caffeine faster than others due to genetic variations. Some take medications that interact with caffeine. Some have underlying sensitivities that become more apparent with age. Some people find it helpful to replace afternoon coffee with decaffeinated options or less stimulating beverages. This simple substitution often reduces nighttime nervous system stimulation enough to improve sleep. What matters most is understanding that small, consistent changes tend to produce more lasting benefits than drastic measures that are hard to maintain. Herbal teas, warm water with lemon, or naturally decaffeinated coffee can provide the ritual and warmth without the stimulation. The psychological comfort of holding a warm beverage remains, while the physiological burden is reduced. It's also important to avoid the idea of perfection. The goal isn't to create a rigid routine filled with rules. The goal is to support the body's ability to recover, rest, and function well. After 50, health depends more on regularity and balance than on intensity or extremes. Life will bring occasions when you enjoy an afternoon coffee with friends or need an extra cup during a particularly demanding day. That's perfectly fine. What matters is that the exception doesn't become the daily norm. When making these adjustments, it's helpful to give the body time to respond. Improvements don't always appear immediately. Often they show up gradually. Slightly more restful nights, less stiffness in the morning, clearer thinking, and a reduced need for constant stimulation during the day. These changes may seem subtle individually, but together they can have a meaningful impact. It typically takes 1 to 2 weeks for sleep patterns to begin stabilizing after reducing caffeine, and sometimes longer to notice the full benefits. Patience during this transition period is essential. If you've made it this far in the video, you've probably realized that this isn't about giving up coffee, it's about redefining how it fits into your life now. This kind of awareness is one of the foundations of good health after 50. Understanding that the body changes, accepting those changes, and making thoughtful adjustments can lead to long-term benefits. It's a shift from fighting against aging to working intelligently with the body you have now. And if this type of content is helping you look at your habits more clearly, it's worth continuing to follow the channel. The goal here is to talk about health after 50 in a practical, honest, and grounded way without exaggeration, fear, or unrealistic promises. When we talk about adjusting daily habits after 50, it's important to remember that there is no single approach that works for everyone. What matters most is developing the ability to listen to the signals the body sends and letting go of comparisons with how it responded years ago. With coffee, this awareness becomes especially important because the habit is so deeply embedded in daily life that it's rarely examined with intention. We inherit coffee habits from our parents, our culture, our workplace environments. We build entire social rituals around it. Questioning these patterns can feel like questioning a part of our identity. Many people spend years dealing with restless nights, persistent fatigue, and a constant feeling of heaviness without ever considering that something as simple as the timing of their coffee could be contributing to the problem. This happens because the effects of caffeine aren't immediate or dramatic. They accumulate quietly, interfering with recovery in subtle ways. And precisely because the impact isn't obvious in the short term, it's easy to overlook. We search for complex explanations: hormonal imbalances, vitamin deficiencies, stress-related disorders, while overlooking the simple daily habit that may be undermining our rest. After 50, the body tends to respond better to consistency than to intensity. Stable energy levels, deeper sleep, and steady recovery become more valuable than short bursts of alertness. In this context, reducing stimulation in the evening is one of the simplest ways to support the body's natural repair processes. Adjusting coffee intake is just one part of that, but it's one of the most accessible and manageable adjustments available. Unlike many interventions that require medical supervision, significant expense, or major lifestyle disruption, this change can be implemented immediately and adjusted based on personal response. When people make this kind of change, they often notice improvements that extend beyond sleep. Energy throughout the day becomes more even, without sharp peaks and crashes. The constant need for stimulation decreases. The mind feels clearer and less restless. Mood often improves as well, because more restorative sleep directly affects emotional balance and resilience. Relationships may benefit too, as irritability decreases and patience increases. The cascade of positive effects can surprise people who expected only marginal improvements in sleep quality. It's also worth noting that coffee's effects can vary depending on other aspects of daily life, such as diet, physical activity, exposure to natural light, and the use of certain medications. That's why personal observation matters more than rigid rules. Some people may tolerate a bit more coffee in the morning without any negative effects, while others benefit from more significant reductions. This individual variability becomes more pronounced with age. Certain medications commonly prescribed after 50, including some for blood pressure or heart conditions, can interact with caffeine or affect how quickly the body processes it. Throughout life, many health-related decisions are made on autopilot. Habits form because they once worked, and they continue without being reevaluated. After 50, reevaluation becomes essential not as a sign of limitation, but as a form of informed self-care. The body changes, and the way we care for it needs to change as well. This applies not just to coffee, but to exercise intensity, meal timing, sleep schedules, and countless other daily patterns. The willingness to reassess and adapt is itself a form of wisdom. If you've recognized yourself in some of the signs mentioned in this video, it may be worth trying a simple experiment. Adjust the timing of your coffee for a few days, reduce the amount, or replace the afternoon cup with something less stimulating. Not as a rule, but as a test. Observing how your body responds can provide clearer answers than any general recommendation. Keep a simple journal noting your coffee intake, sleep quality, and daytime energy. After 2 weeks, review the patterns. The data from your own experience will be more convincing than any external advice. These small experiments help build a more attentive relationship with health. Instead of searching for complex solutions or quick fixes, you begin to trust your body's feedback. This mindset is especially valuable after 50, when prevention and consistency play a larger role than drastic interventions. It cultivates a sense of agency and partnership with your body rather than a feeling of being at war with aging itself. The intention of this video was to show that coffee doesn't need to be eliminated, but understood within a new context. What worked well in the past may need adjustment now, and that's a natural part of aging. Respecting this process doesn't reduce quality of life, it often improves it. The adjustments we make in our 50s can set the foundation for vibrant health in our 60s, 70s, and beyond. Small changes now can compound into significant benefits over decades. If this approach to health resonates with you, and if you value clear, balanced information without exaggeration or unrealistic promises, consider following the channel. The content here is focused on helping people over 50 make more conscious, sustainable choices that support long-term well-being. And if this video was useful to you, it may also be helpful to others who are going through the same stage of life. Sharing this kind of information is a simple way to extend care beyond yourself. Many people are quietly struggling with the same issues, attributing them to inevitable decline when simple adjustments could bring real relief. Caring for health after 50 isn't about strict control, it's about attention. Attention to signals, to rhythms, and to the small daily choices that add up over time. Adjusting coffee habits is just one example of how simple changes, made at the right moment, can have a greater impact than most people expect. It's about working with the body you have, not the body you had 20 years ago. And in that partnership lies the real secret to aging well. Not fighting change, but adapting to it with intelligence, compassion, and practical wisdom.